Day.
And I'm Richard Day.
We're both chiropractors.
We've been in practice together for 11 years.
Married for 10.
With 3 beautiful little girls.
We know it's possible to have an exceptional practice that's built around your life.
Because we've done it.
So we've created this podcast,
the Lifestyle Practice Builders Podcast.
We'll interview chiropractors, answer questions, and bring you resources to help build and grow your practice.
So let's get this party started.
Welcome back to Lifestyle Practice Builders Podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Haley Day, and today is part 2 of my conversation with chiropractic student Colton Purscell. Colton attends Palmer, Florida, where he's going to graduate in a little over a year with plans to eventually open his own practice. He had some questions for me, so we recorded this interview to help others as well. A huge thank you to Colton for coming on the podcast and sharing with us. We appreciate your time, Colton. Thanks for coming on. Also, if you are thinking of opening your own practice in 2021, then check out lifestylepracticebuilders.com/startup. We want to help you out. It's a great resource for anyone that's looking to start up their own practice but doesn't have a ton of money for other practice management groups. You're looking to do it your own way with a little support from someone who's been there, done that. So we would love to help you along. Check that out, lifestylepracticebuilders.com/startup. So let's listen into part 2 of my interview with Colton Purscell.
Quick other question, side note. When finding a lawyer, who should I look for?
You primarily want a contract lawyer when you're starting because you're going to have contracts that you're looking at.
Okay.
So maybe your lease agreement, somebody who can look at those kinds of details. If you need one, then that's what you would primarily be looking for. Mm-hmm. And I would find somebody, you can find somebody through maybe another chiropractor in that area or from your state association or the local chamber.
Okay. Awesome. Yeah. Should I specialize out the gate or should I just try to get some overhead first?
I think specializing out of the gate is fine. It doesn't preclude people from coming into you, but it allows people to really connect with you. Mm-hmm. And so I think that your website should speak to those people that you're looking to have in. So it should have a picture of you treating a middle or high school athlete so that in your website or they meet you in person, you're their ideal person. But that doesn't mean that you can't treat others. Right. So I was talking to Rich about this and he said, you can say you treat active families. So you would be treating not only the sport, the child playing the sport, but you can treat the parents and siblings, but that you are really primarily marketing to that person. So your marketing activities is to that person. You're not going to go speak in a like an elderly home. Right. You know, I would focus your marketing on your ideal client, but at the same time, I would treat whoever calls or comes through the door.
Yeah, definitely. Good point. All right. So before the preceptor question, I pick our mod docs for a clinic soon. You guys help a lot of kids all the time. So when I'm looking for or trying to decide that the doc I'm going to be under for the next year, what are your advice for picking that person?
I think that you should pick someone as close to what you think, how you think you're going to practice. So I know at Cleveland, there are more sports-centric ones. There are more peds, women, health, doctors, and then there's some more general practitioners in there. But I think that if you can find one that's more sports-centric, that's definitely your best bet. Someone who is used to treating extremities. So that's going to be a lot of your practice is going to be extremities. So I would look for somebody who, maybe teaches the extremity class. I don't know, different schools do it different ways. I'm trying to think, Palmer, we didn't go to your clinic, but at National, we went to National while we were there last year, and their clinic is totally separate. So it's one clinician in the clinic and that's all they do. Whereas at Cleveland, some of the clinicians also teach classes. And so the campus is all one building and they can do both or one or the other.
Gotcha.
I think yours is separate, right?
Yeah, ours is separate. Yep.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Because we actually ran into a teacher that we knew from Cleveland, and we talked to her, and she was strictly doing the teaching and not any clinician. So,
right. All right. So for advice on preceptor, I don't know. I've made a lot of connections over the past years. Should I try to go, like if I really wanted to, I could try to go be the Cowboys preceptor, like work under that doc? Or should I try to find somebody who does more what I want to do and learn from them? Does that make sense?
Yes, for sure. I think that either way would be good because I think you're going to learn a lot. Like you could go preceptor with the Cowboy chiropractor. You mean like the football team, right?
Yeah.
The Dallas Cowboys. Okay, so you could go preceptor with him and you might decide that's the way you want to go. Or you might then say, hey, I kind of was thinking about this, but this is definitely not what I want. So I think, and then the same with doing the other way. If you go and work with another chiropractor, you may decide, hey, I don't like this practice at all. There's going to be things you don't like and things you like. Mm-hmm. And really it's going to be about figuring that out. What parts of your job do you like and which do you not like? And being able to mold then your practice off of that. If you are for sure going to start your own practice, then I would find somebody who has their own practice that's like you think you want to have your practice.
Okay.
Because you're going to be able to take a lot away from that experience. And I think in the note that you wrote to me, you asked if it should be close to where you want to be. And I think that might be difficult for you if it was too close. Like I wouldn't want to.
I don't want to go, hey, teach me everything you know, and then I'm going to open up across the street. Like,
yeah. I don't think that's good. I mean, it wouldn't bother me, but I do know that would bother a lot of chiropractors.
Yeah, for sure.
We have chiropractors in our office, so we have we're not competing with them, but I think there's other chiropractors that might have a problem with that. And so I think being, half an hour away would be fine. Or you go check out a place of, that you've been wanting to live. I know we have a close friend right now and he's going to graduate soon. He just took part 4 and he's preceptoring in Florida. Nice. And he is going to end up now in a totally different state. But I think it's a fun experience for him to go do something for 3 months and check out a clinic there that he's probably always wondered about and then move on into his own thing. So
yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
I guess any other advice? I want to open my own practice. So I feel like I'm reading enough books and listening to enough podcasts and trying to shadow as much as I can. Any other advice you have for me on what steps I need to be taking? I mean, I'm trying to do the business plan. Mm-hmm. So I really liked that podcast you guys put out last week about that, which was awesome.
Yeah, I think all of that stuff is as much as you can do as possible, but I wouldn't stress about it. I think really about 3 months out from graduation is when you should, kind of have an idea of the location, an idea of, a lot of that budgeting stuff. But in the meantime, I think I would try to have as much savings as I could. Mm-hmm. So I think being conscientious on spending money and saving as much as you can for that future is important. I think then being careful on the decisions, the overhead, which is going to be this week's podcast, but will have already been out by the time your podcast comes out. Mm-hmm. But I think overhead, making sure you're keeping it as light as possible, because you can always add things. Sure. We didn't open with X-ray. I think it wasn't for about 2 or 3 months that we ended up putting it in, but you can always add things to your practice, but I think having that money and knowing that you can stay open is the most important thing.
Yeah.
So I've heard a story of a chiropractor who didn't even do his build out. He had one room, he put up sheets, he told everyone it was under construction, even though it really wasn't. And just as time went on, he started finishing, more and more of the place. But all you need to do is really just to get patients in and give them great care and then build from there. And a lot of it's not going to be perfect and you're not going to get perfect answers to some of your questions, because every situation is different. And I think being, resourceful and resilient and adaptable to all of those things is so important, because you're going to learn as you go on, and when I start billing a new insurance company, I don't know exactly what to charge the patient, but I do know that I'm going to make it right by the patient. So
absolutely.
Yeah. So if anything comes up and it's wrong, I'm going to take it on my part as a learning experience and move forward. So I might mess up this patient. They're not going to get mad at me because I'm going to make it right by them. But the next patient, I'm going to know better. And and that's how it is with everything. And the most important thing is, even though your systems and your practice might not be 100%, but you want to get those patients in, because that's what you need to survive. So getting them in and giving them great care and figuring things out when you have the time is really good.
That's good. I just thought about this too. Like, since you guys have 2 clinics now, is that right?
Well, we sold the Colorado one, so we just got the one in Kansas City now.
Just have the one. How was that juggle with the 2? Because I would like to have multiple eventually.
I think that we did it really well. It worked out really well for us, even though even our associate that we hired for the Colorado practice didn't work out initially. Actually, we had one that didn't even ever start that we were planning on, that was our ideal candidate. He decided to do something totally different, and we had to find somebody else. And then that person only worked for maybe 3 months after we moved. And we still, we just made it work. And when you look back at it, you think, man, we took some big moves, but it kind of takes that, and having faith that it's figure outable, that you're going to figure out a solution to a problem. And when that associate left, we found a fill-in doc that worked for, I think, 2 weeks. And then we had another doc start, and it all worked out fine. And then when that doc left, after about 1.5 years, that doc left, it was kind of the same thing. We had the fill-in doc work for a couple weeks, and we found another person. So, and we never ended up ever having to go back to Colorado and work in the practice. So
that's good. Yeah, that's really good.
And then running the practice was pretty much my full-time job. So I was able to focus on that. So I think having the right systems in the first practice,
absolutely,
so that we could make it work from another state, that was one of the key aspects. And then 2, having someone that could, devote a lot of time to making it run. And there's so many players that made it work. We had an awesome office manager in Colorado that was our eyes and ears in that practice. And so that really helped to have someone there that we could trust. Mm-hmm. And then we had patients that were secret patients that would go in and make sure everything was running well. And then also, I feel like we're good managers. We're just good people. We treat the people well that are, that have always worked for us. And that is a piece of it too. So a lot of things have to come together, but you're going to have to take that leap. And we had to take the leap, and it did all work out. So
good.
Yeah. And I think totally worth it. It was a great thing to do for a long time. And when we started that practice, it was like our first baby. And so that's why we kept it. We didn't want to let it go.
Right.
And we loved the community that we had been in, and the relationships and the friendships that we had made. And so it was really hard to leave. And so hanging on to it kind of helped us feel a part of that still. Definitely. And then after some time, it started to kind of be too much work for us, and we decided to let it go. But we loved doing it, and it was a great job for me to have for the years that we did have it.
Yeah, definitely. What do you think is the best advantage for students coming out now compared to docs that are been practicing for a while? Just the amount of new research that we have or that we were exposed to?
Well, I think that you guys get a lot more seminar type things in school than I felt like we did. I went to a lot of big practice management group seminars because I worked for chiropractors. And so that was really all I was exposed to. Whereas I think you guys have all like the DNS and MPI and other other seminars that you can go and be a part of and kind of find your clique or your tribe. And I think that's really important, especially as you talk about transitioning from student to chiropractor, that you have a tribe and you have people that are helping you along the way and mentors. And so I think that's really important and great for you guys. I also think that social media and the ability to connect and network using social media, especially now with COVID, is so much crazier than it ever was. And easier. I have a Zoom call with a doctor today that found me on Instagram, and I'm going to connect with her and learn about her practice. She's going to learn about mine. And that would have never happened last year even. So, and then when we were starting our practice, I connected with a lot of people on Facebook. Facebook was kind of new, and I created a group for the town that we were in and did a lot of things that now it's kind of overdone. But in that day and age, that really worked for us. And I would use Facebook advertising and boosting posts to gain momentum in our following and patients in our office. So definitely, I think that this last year could seem like a very challenging time, but there are also a lot of benefits to graduating right now.
Yeah, I mean, COVID was hard for a lot of people, but for me, it's worked out well, like just health-wise, study-wise. I got to read a lot more, learned a lot more. So it's always just about, take advantage of every situation you're put in, for sure.
Yeah, for sure. Because there are people who didn't do that during COVID. Mm-hmm. And I think the people that are happiest coming through COVID or still going through it are the people that have focused on themselves and the part of their lives that make them the happiest. Yeah. And I think when you're coming out of school, focusing on the patient that makes you the happiest and your treatment and your location of where you're going to be and all of those things are so important, and what you value and making those decisions so that you succeed are important foundational elements that I talk about a lot on the podcast. I feel like that I think people have gotten a lot of clarity on in the last year, especially practicing doctors who had to take a month or two off.
Definitely.
And refocus their hours and really think about how they were benefited by being in the practice and what times they were best to be there. So I've seen a lot of good come out of it in a lot of the Facebook groups. And if anyone's having a hard time, they can reach out to us or, look for those answers in themselves and their lives that will make them happier moving forward.
Yeah, that's good. Okay, so you made me think about something else. 2 more things, I'll let you go. When you set your hours, when I first come out, like, should I try to just be there all the time? Or do I be like, hey, I'm only going to be here Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, or whatever, from 7 a.m. to noon, and then leave, go network, and then come back 4:30 after school or 3:30 after school to 6 or whatever?
Yeah, I think both could work. The way we did it was we were there like 7 to 7 because we were in that small town. We just weren't sure what was going to work. And within a month, we thought, this isn't going to work. This isn't going to work. So it was a small period of time we did it, but we did have those very wide open hours. And then it was very obvious to us that no one was going to come over lunch. And so then we decided, hey, we're going to take a long lunch break. It gave us the amount of time to go pick up Rich's son from school and spend time with him, which was important to us. So, after doing that for a month, we were then able to kind of mold the hours into what we wanted. But at first we felt like it was nice to figure out what the patients wanted.
Yeah. I think that's smart. Yeah. Just try to get the play, get the feel of how it's going to be, and then make the decision. Don't just, yeah.
And then we were really flexible. If we felt like if there was someone that wanted to come over lunch and it worked for us, we would do it. So, and a lot of people would say no to that, but we also took our time when we wanted to take our time. So it worked both ways. If we wanted to take Friday off and go into the mountains for 3 days, or if we wanted to take 2 or 3 more days and drive home to Kansas City to see my family, then we did that. But we also were bent over backwards for patients. Yeah. And so I think then that worked for both of us.
What I've seen is like the doctors who like make their office family friendly and very health conscious. They are a good example of health. You know, when that doc's like, hey, we're going to go hiking with my family, like everybody's like, oh, that's okay. Like that's just normal.
Yeah.
Instead of like, you know, not having that set up and then you want to leave for the weekend and everybody's pissed off that you're gone, you know?
Yeah, I agree. I think our family patients definitely understood more about us taking our time when we did than the maybe older patients that didn't have kids or, you know, and they maybe they wanted to come when they wanted to come.
Right.
So, but for us, we were definitely a family friendly, our kids were in the practice type thing. So we were, you know, we bent over backwards for them, Saturday appointments, late night exams, that kind of thing. But we took our own time when we wanted to.
Gotcha. All right. Last 2 here. Yes. Books and podcasts that you would suggest.
Oh man. I listen to mostly business podcast.
Same. Business and like motivational, I guess.
Yeah. I like Brendan Burchard.
Yep. Every day.
I listen to Stacy Tuschel. She has a local business. She has a dance studio in Wisconsin, and then she has an online business. So since we have the podcast and we have the chiropractic clinic, I listen to her podcast a lot.
Okay.
And then I listen to a lot of online business ones because I do a lot of the podcast, and we are creating all the resources that we have at lifestylepracticebuilders.com. And so I listen to like Amy Porterfield. And then I listen to a lot of books on like audiobooks. So, and that can be, I listen to, what do I like? I like, and mostly business ones there too. Right, I listen to like Michael Hyatt, Brendan Burchard.
Yep.
I do. I wish I could share them more, but honestly, I listen to podcasts and I listen to books all the time.
All the time. Yeah.
My kids are at home. I put one ear on, one ear off so I can hear them. And I just, you know, if I'm doing yard work or housework or I'm working on anything, I'm always listening to them. And I think that podcasts are just such great free information. And so
free information. Yeah. That's what's been,
Yeah.
The amount of hours I do of audiobooks and podcasts is ridiculous.
Yeah.
At 2 times speed really helps.
Yeah. And I always have like a spiral next to me. So I'm taking to get inspiration to do those bonus burst episodes on the podcast or share in an Instagram story. So that's what I like to do.
Do you feel like your podcast has helped with the marketing of your chiropractic business, or is it more just like it's just kind of been its own thing?
No, it's its own thing. I think that we will do a podcast for the practice, but since we're both part-time, I've had kids at home. I have one that I didn't plan on having home this year, so I was planning on being in full-time practice, but having her home and with our values, I want to spend as much time with her as I can and make the most of it. So I think that it's something we will put off, but our plan is to have a podcast for the practice. I love the podcast. I think it's great. I love doing it. If I didn't, it wouldn't get done. It's a lot of hard work.
Yeah,
it's
definitely.
A lot of work. So we'll probably have something online about how to start a podcast for your practice. But I think it's a great way. It's a great way to meet people. It's a good way to put out information that is important to what your goals in life. And so for me, the Lifestyle Practice Builders podcast is all about helping students and helping chiropractors that are new, because that transition from student to doctor in those first couple of years are just so important. And I think helping to support you guys as you make that transition and helping. And if you're listening during school, it's just so much good information. And the more you know, the better you will succeed. So.
Absolutely. Yeah. I just want to say thank you for doing this, taking the time. You guys have been so much help. I think I've probably almost listened to all of your episodes. So it's just been a huge help for me and keeps me focused, keeps me driven to know that, you people are out there to help students like that. It's really nice.
Well, thank you for listening and sharing. That means the world to us because it is a lot of hard work. And when we have someone share a post or write a review on iTunes or on Facebook, it means the world to us. And it tells us that we're on the right path and helping you guys out.
Definitely.
If you enjoyed this podcast episode, please share it with your friends on Instagram and Facebook. And for those of you who are already subscribers, we really appreciate it. Thanks for the reviews. We love reading those and knowing that you're loving the podcast. If you're looking for more tips and inspiration, be sure to check us out at lifestylepracticebuilders.com or join our business and marketing Facebook group for chiropractors at facebook.com/group/lifestylepractice.